KBLA1580.com. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
And if I share with you my story, would you share your shadow with me?
Time to get paid. What we're gonna do now is go back.
I'm Tavis Smiley. In this hour, as I was just discussing with Ruth Buffalo, as you recall, she mentioned the name Dallas Goldtooth in our conversation moments ago. And we're talking to Dallas Goldtooth in this hour about LeBron James' new Netflix film. It's called Res Ball. The film tells the story of a high school basketball team rich in Native American heritage as they face their greatest challenge. After the loss of their star player, the team must unite like never before to keep their dreams of a state championship alive. And no surprise that LeBron James would be behind a project like this. I suspect we'll also talk to Dallas Goldtooth about the mainstream success of the FX series Reservation Dogs, in which he also starred. And I certainly want to talk about his work as a Standing Rock protester. But again, today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and I want to start this conversation before I get to all the artistic stuff that Dallas has done and is doing. I want to start on an appropriate note of respect for what this day is and means and represents. Welcome Dallas to this show and ask him how he's processing that we're having this conversation right now on Indigenous Peoples Day. Dallas Goldtooth.
Hey everybody, I appreciate being on the call here today. It's a beautiful day to be alive. You know, I think every day as people impacted by colonization, we have to celebrate each and every day because the system was designed so that our people wouldn't exist. And the fact that we are still here is something for us to celebrate. So happy to be here today.
Yep. Tell me more about this particular day. Ruth Buffalo, again, and I was just talking about the fact that over the years, we've made some progress in getting people to at least acknowledge that it is and ought to be seen as Indigenous Peoples Day, not Columbus Day. I said earlier that Columbus got here and bumped into somebody and then act like he discovered something, and it still troubles me. And troubles is a kind word that we are still passing off these lies in our teachings to students, and certainly where Black history is concerned. I'm an African American. We're trying to avoid telling those truths, teaching those truths altogether. So how does this day strike you? What does this day mean for you?
Well, I think first of all, it's good to acknowledge how white supremacy and colonization works. Right. Let us take a moment to recognize that it works by erasing histories or rewriting histories. You know. Rewriting the history of the U.S. Civil War as an issue anything but about slavery, right? Rewriting the history of the United States by saying that this land was free of any human contact as a way of erasing the contributions of Indigenous peoples not only have made to this land, but to overall society to this day. And so to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day on this day, which in many places is still celebrated as Columbus Day, we want to take a moment to kind of reclaim space, right? And say, hey, we are still here, and we're going to tell our story on our own terms.
Yeah. I love this phrase you used earlier. As persons who have been impacted by colonization, we have to celebrate every day we wake up and get a chance to do better, to get it right, to progress, to advance. I receive that as an African American. I feel the same way. I guess my question is, how do you process in real time the remnants, as it were, of what it means for people like you and me today to still be impacted or to be dealing again with the remnants of what it means to have been subjected to colonization?
I think that within that's a great question. I appreciate it because it acknowledges that colonization is not a past term word or event. It's something that's happening right now. It's ongoing, right? The fact that Indigenous peoples are still fighting for their treaty rights, their Indigenous rights to be acknowledged, goes hand in hand with the fact that you still got folks in Flint, Michigan who are asking and demanding for clean water. You know, you still got black folks down in the Gulf Coast who have been fighting to advocate to be free of toxic pollution from the liquefied natural gas and oil infrastructure systems down there. It goes all hand in hand. I think that today is a moment for me, in the truest sense, is to connect the dots, you know, to acknowledge that what happened to us in the past is an ongoing event today, but not only that, it's not only something that's happened to us, my people, Native peoples, it's also happened to other communities of color across this globe. So, you know, I think that's how I choose to go about this day is like say, hey, it's great that we cut out some time. It's great that we acknowledge our Native peoples, but I want to take it one step further and say, okay, how is our struggle, our plight, our resistance, and our joy connected with other communities?
No, I love it. When we come forward, there are a number of things I want to ask Dallas Goldtooth again before I get to all his artistic work and endeavors. This phrase he used a moment ago, that this is a moment today, that is, Indigenous Peoples Day, is an opportunity for us to connect the dots. I want to get his take. No naivete here in asking this question, but what he makes of the fact that there is still such great resistance on the part of many fellow citizens to do that simple task of connecting the dots. We make this so much harder than it ought to be, or frankly is, when we just won't connect the dots of history. What's that pushback about? What's that resistance about even today? And not even just resistance, but a U-turn in some respects. People just ignoring and refusing to connect the dots of history. It's all there for us if we would but see it and make the effort to connect the dots. Why don't we? We'll talk about that when we come forward. As I mentioned, I also want to talk to him about his being a Standing Rock protester. I have been to Standing Rock. The last time I was there, I was with my friend, the late, great Jonathan Demme, brilliant filmmaker, winner of the Academy Award for his directing of the film Silence of the Lambs. He did The Beloved Project with Toni Morrison and Oprah Winfrey. I miss Jonathan Demme all the time. But I was with Jonathan at Standing Rock. We together did a documentary, a series that ran on PBS that Jonathan and I produced together. So I want to talk to Dallas about that and his role as a protester in that regard. And then, of course, we'll get to all the good stuff. We'll talk about Res Ball, the LeBron James project. We'll talk about Reservation dogs and so much other stuff that Dallas Goldtooth is doing. I'm pleased to have him on Indigenous Peoples Day on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time homebuyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Are you coughing a lot, especially at night? Are you often short of breath? Are you using your rescue inhaler often? These could be signs that your asthma is not under control. To keep your asthma in check and help prevent an asthma attack, ask your healthcare provider for an asthma action plan. This is a personalized plan you create with your doctor that shows you what to do and what medicines to help control your asthma and to use when you're having a hard time breathing or when you're having an asthma attack. Please don't wait until you're having an asthma attack. Do something about it now. Schedule a visit with your healthcare provider today to make that action plan and take control of your asthma. For more tips and resources on the management of asthma, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors. Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in Dallas, Goldtooth, comedian and activist, who I'm honored to have on this program as we commemorate Indigenous Peoples Day. A couple more things I want to cover, Dallas, if we can, before I move to the artistic stuff, the good stuff, the fun stuff. You were talking about connecting the dots, and it seems to me that we oftentimes make that process or that project much harder, much more difficult than it ought to be. But there is a resistance, particularly as we are in this election season. There's a resistance on the part of many fellow citizens to not acknowledge the truth, and they have no interest in connecting these dots. How do you read that?
Oh man, that's a good question. First of all, I want to say this. You did the documentary with Jonathan Demme, right?
Jonathan Demme, yes. Jonathan Demme, yeah.
I remember in that documentary, folks haven't seen it. You're talking on the hill. My uncle's in the back of that video, walking by you.
Wow.
Just randomly walking by. I remember that.
Small world.
I was upset because I wasn't around, and because I'm a huge fan of Jonathan. Rest in peace, but he's a tremendous artist. And I think first and foremost, one thing I just want to say is that when it comes to art, and I know this might be a segue, whatever it may be, but take it for what it is.
Sure.
But in regards to art, and specifically, quote unquote, protest art or activism art, or whatever art in general, how I like to classify art is an attempt to break boundaries at all time, at all opportunities. Not only that, but in regards to movement building and social movements and fights for social justice, art is a critical aspect of that struggle, because the purpose of art in that context is to make the movement irresistible, right? We want to draw people in. We want to paint the story that we're trying to make together as something that's hopeful. And I think that in your question about people's resistance is because we have to acknowledge the power of story. Our world is made, designed, and created by stories. We make it up. Human beings, we create the boundaries of our society entirely due to story. And on our acts of resistance, really, when it comes down to it, is just an attempt for communities to redefine their own story, or take ownership of their story, or change the story that's empowering. Because for too long, the stories about our people have been told by outsiders about us, right? You go back to the 80s and 90s. One is you didn't see many natives on TV. If they did, they existed in the 1800s. They didn't exist in the now. So it created this whole dynamic where people are like, oh, natives are dead. Indians don't exist because we only see them in the past. You think on the flip side of that, and mainstream cinematic portrayals of Black communities in the U.S., it was a very specific, narrow vision about what Black folks were like in the U.S. or what the Black community was like, right? And it creates this whole dialogue about the quote-unquote ghetto that reinforces stereotypes about our peoples. So, I think that really the resistance is people. One is people are afraid of our story. People are afraid of how powerful our stories can be because it changes the status quo. And even our own people, you know this, man, you know how this is, Tavis. Our own people are sometimes the biggest haters because they have bought into the story about how we are, man. I hear it from my own people of like sometimes Native people are, we're meant to be poor, right? As if poverty is a part of our culture. It has nothing to do with our culture. It's how the story told about us says that, but that's not our own story. So that's the dynamic that we're up against here.
Yep. Since you mentioned Jonathan Demme and the time we spent at Standing Rock, I had no idea that your uncle was in the background in one of our shots. But it's a small world. I never know where these conversations are going to go. But I miss, as I said, Jonathan Demme. I said earlier, I miss him dearly. And I'm just tickled to know again that one of your family members was in one of our pieces while we were at Standing Rock. But since you mentioned Demme, let me go back to that because Demme was unapologetically, as are you unapologetically, what I would call a citizen artist. Jonathan and I discussed this many times. He was a citizen artist, and I regard you as a citizen artist. I love the frame you put us in about how you use that citizen artistry to break boundaries. I love that. My question is how you became so comfortable being a citizen artist. I recognize that one size does not fit all. There are some artists who love stepping into that frame of being a citizen artist, and they're engaged and they're involved. We've seen many persons engaged and involved on both sides in this election cycle, for example. But even beyond this race, there are all kinds of issues on which there are artists who get involved, who lend their voices to certain causes, et cetera, et cetera. So my question, having said all that, is how you became Dallas Goldtooth so comfortable being a citizen artist.
Oh man, I think it was built into my childhood, man. I grew up with activist parents. You know, I grew up parents who were always bringing me to movement gatherings, conferences, and where our people come together to talk about their struggles and what we're going to do against it. That was always a core part of who I was of my childhood. I mean, put it this way, man. I grew up around aunties and uncles who the worst thing you could say is you're a bleeping Fed, right? You know what I mean? Like these are folks who don't trust the government. Here are folks who really believe in community movement building. And I grew up around, rabble rousers. Yeah. And so, my parents always encouraged us as children to always speak your mind and speak the truth because the truth is power. And, it's something I try to instill with my own children. And then as I got older, I realized I have just recognizing my own talents as a communicator, my ability to help communicate and advocate for not only my community but other communities is a big part of that. Is also not holding back on telling story.
Yeah, you said something now, Dallas, that you said it so clearly and so plainly that almost. It slapped me upside the head. It was so obvious, so clear, again, so direct. And that is that you're raised in an environment where you just don't trust the government. And I'm not so sure that there aren't folk on both sides of the aisle politically these days who don't trust the government. Certainly black folk have all kinds of reasons to not trust the government. But as we're talking on this Indigenous Peoples Day, and you use that phrase about not trusting the government, it forces me or convinces me to ask this question, which again, I've never really thought about it in this way, that you live a life and Native people live a life every day and have from the beginning of time, essentially. They live a life every day where they're in a situation that is contentious, where they do not trust the government. There is no good reason or no set of good reasons for Native people to ever trust the American government. That is an interesting, fascinating, I'm trying to find other words, perhaps even depressing, but certainly sobering. There's a better word. That's a sobering way to live, because the thought is sobering for me right now, that you live in a space where you can just never, ever trust your own government given what they did to your people. That's a damning indictment of America. Dallas.
Absolutely, man. Getting me all riled up here. No, it's real, man. It is. to say that is also, it also needs to be said, is I'm a firm believer in, I guess what they call is, every word has different, there's different terms for everything, but I'm a firm believer in social democracy, because I acknowledge my people, that's how we operated.
Yeah.
We have democratic systems it was because of Native peoples that we have this twisted form of democracy in the United States. I mean, let's speak that, that it was the Iroquois people who provided the model for the quote-unquote founding fathers who developed the idea of democracy. It came from Native peoples. But I also am a firm believer in socialism, the ability to take care of your own people collectively, right? And that's what our people exist to we continue to assert that practice to this day. I believe in healthy systems of government, but it has to be truly based in the land and in the people, right? The power, our sovereignty is the land, and our land is the sovereignty. That's the core fundamental teaching that I operate from within my communities, right? Yeah. There's a saying, I can't remember, from relatives in Jackson, Mississippi. There's a relative, he passed away some time ago, named Chokwe Lumumba. His son is like the mayor down there.
I know him well, yeah.
Yeah. They used to use this chant of free the land. It's the same kind of concept, right? That our power is inherent in the land itself. We acknowledge that relationship, but also understand our systems of governance comes from that relationship. And that's where I choose to put my power and my hope.
I closed my conversation with Ruth Buffalo by asking her this question, which I now want to ask you, although I am not closing my dialogue with you. We got another 30 minutes here, and I want to get to your artistic endeavors. But as we've been discussing Indigenous Peoples Day and the way you see all of this on this particular day and in this season of politics that we are in, given all that your people are yet up against, and again, Ruth Buffalo and I went through some of the list of the injustices still being perpetrated against and upon your people. In this moment, as a Native, how do you sustain your hope?
Oh, man. By making fun of the dysfunction around me. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that.
That's what it comes down to. Is make light of the dysfunction and craziness around you, because that's the way how we survive to this day. You know what I mean? Because you think about it, man, the stuff we experience, stuff a lot of our communities experience, stuff my communities experience, it's pretty absurd. Enough to the point where, like, this is pretty damn funny in many ways, in a sad way. You think about how we act in our own behavior, man. A lot of my older comedy came from just looking at my uncles, and the things my uncles would do is so absurd and so dumb sometimes that you just can't help but laugh. And that's really what it's about, man, is not taking ourselves too serious, and especially me as a Native man, not taking myself so serious and be like, you know what, there's chance and opportunity to make light of our situation ever and always.
Yep. There's always truth in comedy. And as you well know, sometimes if we don't laugh, we be crying all the time. So
Absolutely.
I received that. Let me just ask you this as I work my way into the LeBron James project, Res Ball, which we'll play the trailer for here in a moment. And we'll talk about Reservation Dogs, huge success on FX, and your comedy, of course. How did, as a Native particularly, how did the arts, how did comedy become your muse, your way out, as we say sometimes?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I was an organizer for this group called the Indigenous Environmental Network, still in operation to this day, ongoing since 1992. And, dude, comedy performance was my outlet. That was my, like, how, when you're doing organizing work, you put a lot on your shoulders. You end up, there's a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And my outlet was performing with my brothers on stage and doing stupid, funny stuff on YouTube. And it was truly my artistic outlet to process a lot of the weight I was carrying in my daily life, my work life, working with communities who are fighting different forms of fossil fuel extraction. And so, like, organizing protests and different types of nonviolent direct action during the weekday, and then on the weekend I'll go do a comedy show somewhere down in, like, Atlanta or over in Seattle. and it was a way for me to cope. And so that's really what it came to be, is my place where I felt rejuvenated. It made me feel alive, and it really instilled hope in me, because being in a space where people are laughing is always something that's regenerative.
Yep. As you were talking, I started thinking, and you would know the answer to this better than I would. Just because I'm curious now, I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize, but not really. So who historically, is there a great Native comedian that I'm just sleeping on right now? And historically, who would you regard as one of the greatest Native actors? So you're in comedy, and of course you're an actor. So in those two lanes, comedy and just the notion of being a thespian in this world of Hollywood, give me, who would be the greatest? In those two categories.
One of the best of all time. He passed away. His name is Charlie Hill, comedian, Native Hill. His name is Charlie Hill.
Okay.
He was born in Detroit, Michigan. He was, I believe, Oneida. Oneida, that was his tribe. And he was on. He was back. He was back working in the 70s and 80s.
All right,
he was a writer. He was a writer on Roseanne for a couple of years.
Okay.
He was on the Richard Pryor show, the Tonight Show, Jay Leno. He did Letterman, and he was pretty groundbreaking for Native comics.
Okay.
And he was a really amazing guy.
Yeah.
His name was Charlie Hill.
Look that up.
As far as actors, I mean, I really go towards Wes Studi or Gary Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Wes Studi, I think, is the icon of Native actors for Native actors.
Right.
W.E.S. Studi. He was people remember him in The Last of the Mohicans. He played the quote unquote bad guy, the hero.
Yeah.
He was the bad guy in Dancing with Wolves.
Right.
He was in Heat with Val Kilmer and Robert De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny about this? I want to say this.
Hold that thought. What's funny about it? Don't forget your point. When we come forward, we'll let Dallas tell us what's funny about that. I know exactly the actor he's talking about. When he said Heat, Robert De Niro, I know exactly what he's talking about. We'll let him tell you what's funny and more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A new report shows that gun violence in Texas is on the decline. The percentage of murders involving a firearm plummeted by 15% in the first 8 months of the year. The family of a missing Broadway dancer is pleading for any information leading to a safe return. Zelig Williams, who is black, disappeared more than a week ago while staying with his mother in his hometown of Columbia, South Carolina. His family is hopeful that he will come home. Georgia voters say they are getting sick of the negative political attack ads and the lack of information about the candidate's stance on various policy. Current polls remain within the margin of error and are not a true predictor for the election. And several restaurants and retailers are celebrating National Dessert Day with special deals. Outback Steakhouse offers a free dessert with an adult entree, while KFC gives away 4 cherry pie poppers with any purchase of $1 or more through their app or website. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff continues to dominate in the postseason. The 9-0 win over the New York Mets Sunday in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series is the Dodgers' third straight shutout in the playoffs. The pitching staff has not given up a run in the playoffs in 33 straight innings. That ties a postseason record set by the Baltimore Orioles in 1966. Game 2 today is an afternoon start. First pitch at 1:08. The Chargers are 3-2 after a 23-16 win at Denver. Former USC star Caleb Williams had his best day as the Chicago Bears starting quarterback. Williams threw for 229 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Bears win over Jacksonville. Congratulations to former Lakers star Michael Cooper. Cooper was inducted Sunday into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Cooper played 9 of his 12 NBA seasons with the Lakers and made the NBA's all-defense team 8 times. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dallas Goldtooth, comedian and activist. We'll talk here in a moment about his new project with LeBron James called Resball. We will talk, that's on Netflix. We'll talk about the success of Reservation Dogs on FX. He's done some great work. Again, comedian and activist, actor, all those titles. Good to have Dallas on. So Dallas, I was up against the clock, and I was asking you who the two most famous native actor and actually two, actor and comedian. I said, who's the most famous in either category? You were answering that question. You were talking about this actor who was in a bunch of movies, including The Last of the Mohicans and Heat, and you were saying what's funny about it was, pick up your thought.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot, man. Thank you for reminding me. No, what's funny about it is that his name's Wes Studi.
Right.
He's a Cherokee actor out of Oklahoma, and he's in Dancing with Wolves. He plays the quote-unquote bad guy. He's got the big red handprint on his face.
Yep.
He's the quote-unquote bad guy in Last of the Mohicans, or Dancing with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans. What's funny about it is I'm growing up watching it, we never saw him as the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, to white folks, he's the bad guy, but to us, he's just another native brother who's trying to make sure his people are free.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
That's the funny part about it is in both movies, I never to this day don't see him as a bad guy. He's just another native guy, a native man making a decision which he thinks is the best for his peoples. You know, and so that's always made me laugh.
Yeah.
But also what I love is he was in like I told you the movie Heat.
Yeah, with De Niro and
He just
Pacino.
played a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just a dude. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's also amazing to see native actors get an opportunity just to play a guy. You know, just to be somebody there that's not a stereotypical role for a native person. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always good to see.
No, when you start calling the role of his corpus, his body of work, the films he's appeared in, I got it quickly. And by the time you got to Heat, I know exactly who Wes Studi is, the guy you're talking about. But it is fascinating. Again, that's why I love having conversations with people who have different experiences and see the world through a different prism, and frankly, oftentimes are much more brilliant than I will ever be. I love these dialogues. I say all the time, I leave this studio, Dallas, every day smarter than when I came in. And I never kind of thought about it in that way, that as you described it, or as anybody else would describe it, he played the bad guy in all these films. But to your point, he was never the bad guy to you guys. He was the good guy. He was doing the right thing. And it's just fascinating that where you stand impacts what you see, does it not?
Absolutely, 100%, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, and it's like, hey, we're rooting for all our peoples in this situation, kind of thing. You know,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Res Ball. So let me just give you a quick understanding of what you're about to hear. This is the new Netflix film, R-E-Z, Res Ball. The film tells the story of a high school basketball team rich in Native American heritage as they face their greatest challenge. They lose their star player, and the team has to unite like never before to keep their dreams of a state championship alive. No surprise, as I said earlier, that a story like this about a basketball team doing the unthinkable, doing the impossible, would be EP'd by a guy named LeBron James. Take now a listen to the trailer for Res Ball.
You're done now. Toast. The tiny wins. Hey, man, I gave you that. Come on, one more. Come on.
I know you're hurting. I know how close you two were. I'm here if you need to talk.
Our thoughts go out to the family of star basketball player Natani Jackson, who has passed away at 18 years old.
With Natani gone, they think they're gonna walk all over us.
Cheska, I consider one of your closest rivals.
Cheska who?
You really think we can win without him?
I'm not about to give up on the season. Are you guys with me?
I'm not your coach. They may be gods on the court, but they're still just kids. It's time to rely on our traditions. You descend from warriors. We're gonna go back to the old ways.
What if we call the plays in Navajo?
We're gonna do what we do best. Res Ball.
I lost it though.
Let's win this title. For you, for me, but most of all, for the Reds.
Let's do this.
Let me see your hands in the air. In the air. In the air.
Exec produced by LeBron James. It's called Resball. It's on Netflix. Dallas Goldtooth. Tell me about Resball.
Oh man, that even though it's an audio, it still gets you jazzed up. Listening to that trailer.
Yeah, it does.
Folks, go check it out on YouTube right now. You can see the trailer. That is, it's on Netflix. Yeah, my friend Sydney Friedland. She's a Navajo director. She directed it, co-written by her and my good buddy Sterling Hardrow, who is also the showrunner for Reservation Dogs. LeBron James signed on as an executive producer, and it tells a story of a team of Navajo players who overcome some pretty hard circumstances and grief to go on and make their way to the state basketball championship out of Arizona. Hey man, it's a solid, good basketball movie. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've seen some good sports movies. And if you're game for a good sports movie, then Resball is a good movie to check out.
Yeah.
It takes place entirely on the Navajo Res. It's an all native cast. All the actors in it, who are on the basketball team, they're all basketball players themselves. Like, they had to go through a whole rigorous process to audition, where they actually had to film themselves playing basketball. They wanted actors who actually knew how to ball, and that comes across. I think, honestly, in my opinion, like, it's one of the actual basketball play in the movie, when you see them playing basketball, is one of the best portrayals of basketball on screen, because they went, wide shots, long takes. They didn't really cut away. They didn't hide the fact that these guys are actually ballers playing basketball.
Yep. What I love about it is, and I really celebrate the fact that LeBron is one of the EPs on it, but it's the story that your friends wrote and directed. That they deserve the credit for that. When LeBron came in as an EP, and that's always a beautiful thing, because his name gives it more cachet. But I celebrate the work that these natives did to bring this story to us. But what I love about it is that it situates the humanity of these persons in the telling of the story, and that's always a beautiful thing. I say to people all the time that whatever lane you're in, if you're a talk show host, if you're an actor, if you're a professor, whatever your role is, your job every day is to find a way to connect with people that allows them to see your humanity, you see their humanity, and your humanity connects to the humanity in them. I don't believe that any of us can ever, how might I put this, we can never achieve the fullness of our own humanity if we cannot respect and revel in the humanity of the other. So any great piece of work, you will never again experience the fullness of your own humanity if you can't respect and revel in the humanity of everybody else. But the work and witness that we engage is at its best. It's at its pinnacle whenever that work allows people to situate their humanity in the story. And Resball does that magnificently. It allows you to situate your own humanity. If you had lost a son who was a basketball player, an athlete, or if that had been you, I mean, you can situate your own humanity in this team that's fighting to win, even though they've lost their star player. That's what makes it work. You feel and you are connected to the humanity of these players. I digress. That's Resball. We'll talk about, and that's on Netflix. We'll talk about the success of Reservation Dogs on FX with the Dallas Goldtooth when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Standing up for everyday Americans is at the very foundation of who Kamala Harris is. Raised in a middle-class home by a working mother who instilled in her a passion for justice and equality. That's why when Kamala Harris became district attorney, she stood up for our kids, keeping them safe by prosecuting sex offenders. She also pioneered a program to give nonviolent drug offenders a second chance. As president, Kamala Harris will continue the fight for everyday Americans. She's already lowered the cost of your health insurance and medications. Insulin is now capped at $35 for seniors. But there's more to do because mortgages, rents, groceries, and utility bills are still too high. Harris's plan to fix it? Build more homes to lower prices and make the wealthy and billionaires pay their fair share so we get a break. All her life, Kamala Harris has been standing up for us, and she doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for president.
Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition. With powerful new contributions from today's leading voices, this 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
I'm Jeff Davis. I believe my daughter should inherit something, but not the role and responsibility of burying me. That's why I have a pre-need burial insurance plan through Harrison Ross Mortuary. Their plan offers me 4 payment options. 1, pay in advance or pay over 3, 5, or 10-year time periods to keep the payments affordable. Contact the professionals today at Harrison Ross Mortuary. We can be reached at area code 310-704-4901. That's 310-704-4901. And ask for me, Jeff Davis. Thank you.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Dallas Goldtooth, comedian and activist. We were talking about, in case you tuned in, Resball, the new project on Netflix, brought to us by executive producer LeBron James, about this amazing high school team that has to succeed against the odds once they lose their star player. So that is Resball on Netflix. Here now, a little taste of what many of you already got turned on by. It's called Reservation Dogs, a huge hit it was for FX. Here's a taste of that. We'll talk to Dallas Goldtooth about that project.
Aho! Young and old warriors! Aho! You little ones out there, you girthy ones, you tall ones, you short ones, you full-blood ones, you disenrolled ones, you pretend ones, the ones that were never enrolled in the first place, but you could still prove your descendancy. Good to see you! Welcome to the spirit world. As you may know, my name, William Knifeman. I'm here to continue this story, a story as old as time, a story as fresh as Mountain Dew, a story that happened yesterday. Or maybe it happened last week. Or maybe it has yet to even happen.
When you look back on it, Dallas Goldtooth, it's been a little time now since the final episode of Reservation Dogs aired on FX, but it became a huge hit for FX. It's the point you were making earlier about the importance of telling different stories from the Native American community, but you have to smile when you look back and see or think about the success of that project.
100%. I also like how you cut off the sound bit there because there's some curse words that came up right after that.
Yeah, that's Miles's job. That's his job. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Reservation Dogs. You know, we were nominated. Finally, got nominated for an Emmy this last year. We didn't get it. We didn't win the Emmy, but we were happy and proud that we got nominated. And we crewed up, man. We all showed up to the Emmys and our looking our best, man. Proud to represent Native communities and our story that we wanted to tell, man.
Nope, you guys were there. And again, it's sometimes it is just an honor to be nominated. Better to win, perhaps, but a joy to be nominated, particularly when the storyline is what it is or was in Reservation Dogs, and these stories are slowly starting to push through. Our remaining moments on this Indigenous Peoples Day with Dallas Goldtooth when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time homebuyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what part politics play in our lives.
Questions about black voters, their disengagement, lack of information, and support or lack thereof for Democratic candidates have once again taken center stage as Democrats, Republicans, and independent candidates compete for this critical voting bloc. Will black voters abandon Democrats in this election, move historic numbers of votes toward the Republican nominee, or will they continue a decades-long trend of overperforming for Democratic candidates up and down the ballot? The stakes have never been higher for Black America. Tune in to KBLA's new show, The Black Pack, hosted by veteran political strategist Adrian Shropshire, every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for a breakdown of the issues, rhetoric, polling, and more this election year. It's The Black Pack with Adrian Shropshire, Fridays from 4 to 6 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I've got 4 minutes left. Just 4 minutes left in this conversation with actor and comedian and activist. We'll just call him an actorvist. Dallas Goldtooth, I've enjoyed talking to in this hour, particularly, especially on this Indigenous Peoples Day 2024. 2 things. I'll let you go in the next 3.5 minutes here, Dallas. First, I assume, I could be wrong, that you must be at some level encouraged, if not buoyed, by the fact that while you guys didn't win the Emmy for Reservation Dogs, this project from LeBron, Reservation Dogs, we are starting to see your community being represented in storylines that have texture, that have a broader context. It's not the same old, same old. I think you celebrate that, even as it moves perhaps a bit too slow. I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to feel it. Are you?
Oh, 100%, man. I'm excited right now and energized for this generation of Native storytellers, directors, and writers who are, taking the lead and bringing viewers into a new, into the diverse aspects of Native American communities. Because Native American people, there's over 300 some different tribes, hundreds of different tribal dialects and languages. We have entirely different cultures, and I think that what I would love to see is more of that diversity expressed, so people understand that we are not a monolith, that we're all not the same, that we're all different and beautiful in our own way.
Yep. Finally here, because it is Indigenous Peoples Day, and we are literally tomorrow, 3 weeks away from Election Day. Don't need to color this question much more than this, but anywhere you want to take it, how are you feeling? How are you processing? How are you navigating? What have you to say as a Native about this moment in our politics?
Oh, you're dropping the easy questions, aren't you? Right at the end. Look at you. Look at you. The easy.
Yeah.
Easy. No, man. I'll be honest. I think a lot of our folks in a lot of our communities who feel very conflicted, but understand that the true power is in the people. I do believe in democratic systems. I do believe in collective building, and also believe in the impact of local elections. Like, it really essential that we get folks on the local level who look like us, who think like us, and who believe in us. You know, that's where I really want to put my energy into, is making sure we get good peoples on the at the local and state levels is absolutely essential for building a good future.
Beautifully said, and I could not agree more. I like the frame that he took, the approach that he took in answering that easy question here at the end of this conversation. He is comedian and activist Dallas Goldtooth, who I've enjoyed having on this program for this hour. Dallas, thank you for your time, man. Stay strong. All the best to you. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Good to have you on this program. What a show that was today, starting with our commentary, my top 10 reasons why none of us should have been surprised at Obama's Brothers Smackdown. I'm told by my team that commentary, in case you missed it, tuned in late and didn't hear all of it, is now posted on all of our socials. So what I had to say today in sharing my top 10 list can be found right now on any of my socials, Tavis Smiley, or any of the socials of our home station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580, if you missed my essay kicking off today's program. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, for another great show. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to you, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. A new report shows that gun violence in Texas is on the decline. The